In this video, we're going to talk more about the string data type. This video covers how to isolate individual character values that are part of a string, and also how to process strings using built-in functions like length, which Python provides for us. So Python provides some nice ways to work with string data, and that's because almost every software program on the planet deals with string data in some way, shape, or form. It's really, really common to have a collection of characters that represent text in some way. You need it if you're trying to process somebody's login to a computer system, to process their password, to process whether a credit card number was entered correctly, to indicate what classes you want to register for next semester, and much, much more. So there's lots and lots of software on the planet that uses string processing. Today we're going to look at some helpful tools that Python has that help us to do that string processing. So the first thing to know about strings is that they're storing a collection of characters, and sometimes you want to do operations on the entire string, like in the password example we were looking at. Other times you might just want to look at part of the string. Maybe you just want to look at the first character, or maybe you just want to look at the first and second character for some particular reason. And we need a way to look at those individual characters and kind of separate them from the overall string. When it comes to storing strings, it treats the individual characters as though they were a list of characters. So if we're storing a value like Smith as our string, and storing that in a variable called last name, you can think of the individual characters as being in separate boxes, with the S in the first box, the M in the second box, I, T, H. And so that looks a lot like the memory storage diagrams that we were drawing when we were talking about lists in class. And that's because Python treats them in pretty much an identical way. So it stores all the individual characters as part of a list and creates indices or positions that reference those individual characters. The first one's always numbered 0, and the last one is the number of characters in the collection minus 1. So because Smith has 5 characters, the biggest index is 4. And just like when we were working with lists, we can use the same kind of syntax to reference individual characters that are part of a string. So for example, if we want to know what's the first character in the string last name, we could say last name, square brackets, 0, square bracket. That means give me the last name at position 0, at index 0 in the list. And then we're storing that into the variable character. If we printed that character out, the computer would print the capital S because that's the information that's stored at that position in the list. If we wanted to store the character, or if we wanted to print the character that's stored at position 2, we could say print and then last name, square brackets, 2, square brackets. So that would tell Python, go to the last name list and go to index 2, that's the I, and then print the value that's there. So it would print the lowercase I to the screen. In general, to get the character stored in the string at some position X, we would say identifier of the string, square brackets, X. So just whatever you've named your string, and then use the square brackets to get the specific character. So that can be really convenient if you're trying to process just 1 or 2 or a few characters at a particular position in a collection. It's also possible to pull out a slice or a section of the string for some particular reason, and we call that a slice. If you wanted to know what the first 3 characters in the last name were, we could say, give me the substring that starts from index 0 and ends before index 3. So let's look at the last name again, the little diagram we have. So if we're telling it, give me this, the slice that starts at 0 and ends at 3, we're telling it to give us these first 3 characters. Whatever you put as the closing index in that command is not included in the slice that you get. So saying, give me the slice from 0 to 3, that's getting the first 3 characters, the ones at indices 0, 1, and 2. So if last name stores Smith and we executed the statement above, what would substring store? It would store capital SMI. That can be really useful in some programs. Another operation that is often useful is finding out how many characters are part of a string, and Python has a special method that lets you do that. It's the length method. We saw that with the lists, so you're probably not surprised that it works with strings as well. If we say, give me the length of this string variable, it will tell us how many characters are in there. So for example, if last name is storing Smith and we call length last name, it's going to calculate the number of characters in that name. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it'll return the 5 and store that in the number of characters variable. Let's look at a short problem-solving exercise. Suppose that we wanted to write a program that reads in quiz score values and then prints a message based on the value of the quiz score. If the score is 6 or higher, we want to print a message saying the student passed. If the score is less than 6, we want to print a message saying better luck next time. We want the program to ask for quiz score and print the message for multiple students in a course. We don't know how many students there are in the course. If the user responds with a string that begins with the letter Y, then we'll get another score and print the message. If the user responds with any string that doesn't start with a Y, then we'll quit the program. So let me pull out Python. Let's try to write that together. I recommend pausing the video for a few minutes, try to write it on your own. After you got your ideas on paper for a few minutes, then rejoin the video, unpause it, and we'll look at the solution together. So in this program, we want to write a repetition statement because we know we want to repeatedly ask for quiz score values. We want to keep asking for them until the information that the user gives us doesn't start with the character Y. So I'm going to create a variable for the user response. And I'm going to set that equal to yes initially to say that we want to keep going. That's going to be my initialization step for the loop. And then I want to keep going while the user response at index 0, that's the first character, is equal to Y. Whoops. And then my update step is going to be reading in a new user response. So I'm going to say user response equals, and I want to get input from the user. I want to say, please enter yes to continue or anything else to stop. Excellent. So that's my initialization step, my loop test, and my update step for the repetition. So now I'm going to think about the algorithm that I want to include inside that repetition. We want to ask for a quiz score value and then print a message. So inside my loop, I'm going to prompt for a quiz score equals, I'm going to make it an integer. And then if the quiz score was 6 or higher, we want to print a message saying they passed. So if the quiz score is greater than 6, then I'm going to print you passed. Celebration. Otherwise, we want to print a message saying better luck next time. Awesome. So let me read through it again, make sure that we got all of our pieces. We're going to write a software program that reads in quiz score values and prints the message. If the score is 6 or higher, prints the message saying they passed. If it's less than 6, print a message saying better luck next time. If we want the program to keep asking for quiz scores and print the messages for multiple students, don't know how many students there are, it's an event controlled loop. And we'll want to ask if there's more scores to enter. The user responds with anything that starts with a yes, we want to ask for another score and print the message. If they enter anything else, we want to stop. All right, I think we got it. Let's run it and see how it works out. So this is String2. So if we enter a quiz score value like 9, it says they passed. So now we can enter anything that starts with a yes, Y. So if we enter yeah, it'll ask us for another quiz score. Yep, still asks for another quiz score. Yes, of course, works. Anytime that we enter a score greater than 6, it prints out you pass. If we enter something less than 6, it prints better luck next time. Let's pick something that doesn't start with a Y so that we stop. So if we enter no, or again, anything else that doesn't start with Y, then we stop looping.